Hare Krishna. So, welcome all for today's chapter 5th of the Bhagavad Gita. So, in the last chapter 4th, we saw last two verses, verse number 41 and 42. I'll just go to the verses. Yeah. So, in this verse, Krishna says, Yoga Sannyasa Karmanam Jnana Sanchina Samshayam Atmavantanna Karmani Nibadanti Dhananjaya. So, Krishna meant here that one who renounces fruitive actions by karma yoga and then who doubts and clear by knowledge and who is realized by self is not bound by reactions of work. So here he tells that you should renounce the fruitive activities, that is, you should work without expecting any results. But here what Arjuna understands is that I have to renounce the work only. And therefore, here there's an apparent confusion which Arjuna has. And then in 42 verse, here, what is happening is Krishna is saying, Tasmat Ajnana Sambhutam Ritsam Jnanan Siddha Atmana Chittaitvan Samsayam Yogo Uttishta Bharata. So he's saying that please stand up and fight. So here Arjuna is saying in the above 41 verse, you said give up the work, and 42 verse, you're saying stand up and fight. So then there's a confusion in the heart of Arjuna. But Krishna meant in the 41 verse that you work in a spirit of renunciation. That is, you work without any results. That is, you do not have fruitive works, but you work in a spirit where you are detached from the results of the work. So the word karma in the first line of 4.41, that is yoga karmanam, could literally mean action, but the spirit in which Krishna speaks is results of action. So Krishna is not condemning renouncing work, but renouncing the fruits of work. But Arjuna thinks that he is telling to renounce the work altogether. And therefore Arjuna found this verse contradictory. And thus the question starts in the beginning of the next chapter. I hope you understand the context. What we are now discussing is because this 5.1 verse is based on these last two verses where Krishna says you work but renounce the fruits of other work. And Arjuna understands that I should renounce the work only. So there is a confusion in the heart of Arjuna, and Arjuna is now asking this question to Krishna to tell sure what should be done. Arjuna vacha sannyasam karmanam Krishna punaryogam cha samshashi yachshayayitayorekam tanme bruhi sunischitam. Arjuna said, "Oh Krishna, first of all, you asked me to renounce work, and then again you recommend work with devotion. Now, will you kindly tell me definitely which of the two is more beneficial?" So in verse number 41, you said renounce the work, and 42, you said that you do the work with devotion. So now tell me what is more beneficial. Should I renounce the work or should I not? So in this 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that work in devotion service is better than dry mental speculation. Devotional service is easier than the latter because being transcendental in nature, it frees one from reaction. So in 2nd chapter, primary knowledge of the soul and its entanglement in the material body were explained. So we know this verse from 2.11 to 30, the characteristics of soul were explained in the Bhagavad Gita. How to get out of this material engagement by Buddhi Yoga devotion was also explained therein. 3rd chapter, it was explained that a person who is situated on the platform of knowledge no longer has any duties to perform. And in the 4th chapter, the Lord told Arjuna that all kinds of successful work culminate into knowledge. So we saw this in the 4th chapter, that all kinds of works actually is there so that we get knowledge, and by that we can free from the cycle of birth and death. However, at the end of the 4th chapter, Lord advised Arjuna to wake up and fight, being situated in perfect knowledge. Therefore, by simultaneously expressing the importance of both work in devotion and inaction in knowledge, Krishna is perplexed, Arjuna and confused. So Krishna is very sure he's saying inaction in knowledge. That is, you do your work, but you should not expect any results. That is inaction. That is knowledge you should have. But Arjuna is pancreas here. So Krishna is perplexed, Arjuna and confused is determination. Arjuna understands that renunciation in knowledge involves cessation of all kind of work. So Arjuna says, I should give up all the work, perform as sense activities. Whereas Krishna says, do your work, but do not expect results. So there is a difference. But if one performs work in devotional service, then how is work stopped? In other words, I think that sannyasa or renunciation in knowledge should be altogether free from all kinds of activity, because work and renunciation appear to him to be incompatible. For Arjuna, this work and renunciation is altogether different. So either one can work or one can be renounced. So this is what Arjuna says. But Krishna says you work, but in a spirit of renunciation. That is, you work, but renouncing the fruits of your action. So that is what Krishna is saying. So he's saying both are same, but Arjuna is saying both are different. He appears not to have understood that work in full knowledge is non-reactive and is therefore same as inaction. He inquires therefore whether he should cease work altogether or work with full knowledge. And therefore, because of this apparent confusion here, Arjuna is asking this, whether he should cease work altogether or work with full knowledge. So this is how the crux is. I hope everyone understands that Arjuna is asking whether I should renounce the work or work with devotion. Tell me what is better of the two. Let's see what Krishna says. Shri Bhagwan Vacha Sannyasa Karma Yogascha Nishreyasya Karaubhav Tayostu Karma Sannyasat Karma Yoga Vishishyate. The personality of God replied, the renunciation of work and work in devotion are both good for liberation. But of the two, work in devotion service is better than renunciation of the work. So Krishna says renunciation of work, so you give up work, and work in devotion are both good for liberation. So for liberation, both are good. Either you work in devotion, which is non-reactive, or renounce the work. But of the two, work in devotion is better than renunciation of work. So the second, that is working in devotion, is much, much better than renouncing the work. Purport. Fruitive activities seeking sense gratification are cause for material bondage. As long as one is engaged in activities aimed at improving the standard of bodily comfort, one is sure to transmigrate to different types of bodies, thereby continuing material bondage perpetually. So very important thing here, that if somebody seeks sense gratification, then definitely they will be in the material world only, because there are causes for material bondage. And as long as one is engaged in activities aimed at improving the standard of body comfort, that is material, economic, the what we are doing now, we are increasing economic comforts, our level of standard of living is increased. So when the standard of living is increased, Krishna is Prabhupada is saying that one is sure to transmigrate to different types of bodies. So definitely we should give body some minimum comforts required, but we should not unnecessarily increase the standard of our living. Otherwise, what will happen is we will transfer different types of body. So therefore, we should have minimum comforts with the basic thing that we want to go back to God, and that should be our main goal. So here Bhagavatam 5.5, 5.4, 5.54 to 6 verses are given. So Bhagavatam, these chapters are Lord Rishabdev's teaching, chapter 5.4. So we know Rishabdev has many sons. Now out of Bharat Maharaj is the main son. So Rishabdev is teaching all this to Bharat Maharaj and all the other sons. And he's quoting here some 4 to 6 verses. Nonam pramatta kurute vikarma yad indriya pritaya panoti nasatu maniyet atmanoyam asan api klesha tata sadeha. So, think, okay. So this verse means when a person considers sense gratification as the aim of life, he certainly becomes mad after materialistic living. So pramatta means mad. See, this pramatta means mad. So when one considers sense gratification, that is the aim of life. So he becomes certainly mad after materialistic living and engages in all kinds of sinful activity. So kleshada, yeah, the word is in kleshada. Kleshada means giving misery. So all kind of activity he does which gives him misery. And he does not know that due to his past misdeeds, he has already received the body, which although temporary is the cause of his misery. So by past deeds, we have got this deha. So this deha is temporary. It's very less, but it is cause of full of miseries. So we know any part of body can give us unlimited misery, but the joy it gives is very limited. So actually the living entity should not have taken on the material body, but he has been awarded the material body for sense gratification. Therefore, I think it not fitting an intelligent man to involve himself again in the activities of sense gratification, by which he perpetually creates material bodies one after another. So one should not take this body because uh, one should not do some things which was by which he can get body again and again. So therefore, mm, so in this verse actually, this first verse, begging, then borrowing and stealing, which is people do nowadays most often, for sanctification is condemned because what happens is such consciousness lead one to dark hellish condition. So one will go to hell if one begs, borrows, or steals for self gratification. And therefore, this is not good. And then the second verse, which says, Parabhavasthavadabodha jato yavanna jignasata atma tattvam yavat kriyastavadidam mano vai karmatmakam yena sharira bandham. So, as long as one does not inquire about the spiritual life, so as long as one does not, uh, abodha means ignorance actually, this abodha jata. So as long as one does not inquire about spiritual values of life, one is defeated and subjected to miseries arising from ignorance. So we'll get different miseries. So sharira bandha with this word, sharir means body and bandha means all kind of bondage in this material body. This so be it sinful or pious, karma has its resultant actions. If a person is engaged in any kind of karma, his mind is called karmatmaka, colored with fruitive activity. As long as the mind is impure, conscious is unclear, and as long as one is absorbed in fruitive activity, he has to accept a material body. So, this very important thing that till the time our mind is impure, we have impure thoughts. So, mind has three functions: thinking, feeling, and willing. So till the time our thinking is not pure, we have very bad thoughts. Sometimes the willing is not good, and sometimes we don't feel good. So till the time we have to take another body. This is good, not proper. So mind is impure, conscious is unclear. So conscious is not clear what we should do, and one is absorbed in fruitive activity. So fruitive activity means working for some results that I want money, I want this, that. So till the time it's all there, then what happens is one has to accept a material body. So one has to go into the Sharir Bandhana again and again. But one is free from all this, and one can get out of this. So sometimes people think that if we act piously, if we do some good work, then what will happen is we will be relieved of misery. But this is not a fact actually. Even though one engages in pious activity, what happens is that he is defeated. Actually, one's aim should be only to get out of this material world. That should be the only aim which one should have, so that one is uh, having the right definition of life. Because any kind of work in this world, whether it be pious or impious, is a cause of bondage. So if we want we have done some pious work also. So one has to get good results for that, and for that one has to come here and take birth. And one cannot do only pious work. For any pious work to be done, there will be some work which is not good to be done. Like suppose somebody does cooking in the home for maintenance of the soul. So while cooking, so many insects are being killed. So there is some amount of violence is involved in every activity. While cleaning the house or doing any simple activity, also there's some kind of violence involved, and therefore one gets that karma also. And therefore, very necessary that one should think that how to get out of material rather than doing some pious work here. So one should solve the problems of life, and one should be inquisitive to understand his spiritual position. So that should be done. This was explained then. And then the third verse here. Evam mana karma vasham paryunktate avidyatmani upatiyamani pritirna yavan mai vasudeve namuchyate deha yogena yasavat. So he's saying that when the living entity is covered by the mode of ignorance, so this avidya atmani, this word, so that is avidya means ignorance. This word, when the living entity is covered with avidya or ignorance, it does not understand the individual living being and the supreme living being. So this Mai and Vasudev. So one does not understand this oneself also, and one does not understand who is Krishna, Vasudeva also. And therefore, what happens is until one has love for Lord Vasudeva, one is who is none other than myself, he is certainly not delivered from having to accept a material body again and again. So Rishabdev was also incarnation of Lord, and therefore is saying that to me, it is myself, Yavan, and therefore, na muchyate deha yogi natavat. So till that time, one cannot get out of this material world. So this is important. So people are mad after sense gratification and do not know that the present body, which is full of miseries, is a result of own futility in the past. So, although this body is temporary, it is always giving trouble in many ways. Therefore, to act for sense gratification is not good. One is considered to be a failure in life as long as he makes no inquiry about his identity. As long as he does not know his real identity, he has to work for future results for sanction. And as long as one is engrossed in the consciousness of sanction, one has to transfer it from one body to another. Although the mind may be engrossed in future activities and influenced by ignorance, one must develop a love for devotion service to Vasudeva. Only then they have the opportunity to get out the bondage of material existence. So this all verses are very important verses. If one can meditate on this and understand, it's very good. So that we should not be mad after enjoying our senses, but we should be mad after Vasudeva or Krishna. Therefore, gyan or knowledge that one is not this material body but spirit soul is not sufficient for liberation. So first of all, the knowledge comes, the gyan comes, and it is converted to vigyan. So gyan is theoretical knowledge, whereas vigyan is practical knowledge. So one should not just have gyan, the gyan should also be converted to vigyan. So one has to act in the status of spirit soul, otherwise there is no escape from material bondage. So just knowing that we are not this body, but spirit soul is not sufficient. We need to work based on the level of spirit soul. So this is very important thing. And therefore, if we see Srila Prabhupada in many of his lectures have emphasized this one point that we are not this body but spirit soul. So this year was emphasizing so many lectures. And therefore, the first thing a Jiva sadhaka should do is realize that he is not this body but spirit soul and act on the platform of spirit soul so that one may go further in the devotion service. Action in Krishna consciousness is not, however, action on the fruitive platform. So action in Krishna consciousness means doing everything for Krishna, and therefore automatically we go up the results of the work. Activities performed in full knowledge strengthens one advancement in real knowledge. So when one does work in knowledge, then what happens is one becomes more advanced in real knowledge. And therefore, whatever we do, we should work with knowledge. As far as we can, we should try to understand things and do. Then we get more benefit than just rather doing the things. Without Krishna conscious, mere renunciation of fruitive activities does not actually purify the heart of the conditioned soul. So just renouncing the fruitive activities does not help much. What we should do is we should be Krishna conscious also, then it will help us to purify. As long as the heart is not purified, one has to work on the fruitive platform. But action in Krishna consciousness automatically helps one escape the result of fruitive action so that one need not descend to the material platform. So, the whole devotional service we are doing is just to purify our heart of the unwanted desires, anartha. Anartha means things which are not required. So, that should be removed. And it's a very important thing. So one need not descend to the material platform. Therefore, action in Krishna is always superior to renunciation, which always entails a risk of falling. So when do action for Krishna is much more beneficial than just renouncing the actions, because we have seen that so many people renounce the world because of some reasons that they want to go back to work, but not working in the spirit of Krishna consciousness. What happens is after some time, they again come back on the material platform. And we see that so many times they do work on the material platform, like some social work or something, and they give up the spiritual things. So renunciation without Krishna consciousness is incomplete, as is confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So one is renounced but is not Krishna conscious, then it is incomplete and it may not work for him. So here example is given, or the quote is given by Srila Rupa Goswami. Prapanchikataya buddhya hari sambandhinu vastuna mukshibi parityago vairagyam kalgu kathayate. When persons eager to achieve liberation renounce things related to Supreme Personality of God, thinking them to material, the renunciation is called incomplete. Renunciation is complete when it is in knowledge that everything existence belongs to the Lord and that no one should claim property of everything. People want renunciation and they renounce so many things. But everything actually belongs to Supreme Personality of Godhead. There is nothing in this world which does not belong to Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, uh, everything should be used in the service of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rather than thinking the material and should not renounce this. So therefore, we should do that in a way where the things are used for Supreme Personality of Godhead. So renunciation is complete when it is knowledge that everything existence belongs to the Lord and that no one should claim property of our everything. So therefore, nothing is ours in this world. Everything is belongs to Krishna. One should understand that factually nothing belongs to anyone. Therefore, then where is the question of renunciation? One who knows that everything is in Krishna's property is always in renunciation. So Prabhupada is saying that anyways, we didn't have anything. So what are we renouncing actually? So real renunciation is knowledge that everything belongs to Krishna and we should use whatever we have just for our maintenance. And other things we should keep aside because it belongs to Krishna. We should just take our own quota. So it's also explained in Ishtopanishad that everybody here should take what they need. But if somebody has greed and they take everything, then it will create chaos and the world will not work. The people in the world will not function properly. This perfect form of action in Krishna consciousness is far better than any amount of artificial renunciation by sannyasi of the Mayavadi school. So, action in Krishna consciousness is far better than any amount of renunciation by sannyasi of Mayavadi school. So, actually, sannyasa is not easy. In our mind, we have so many vasanas, and therefore, mere sannyasa of things is not beneficial because today or tomorrow, one will definitely come down from the sannyasa level. And therefore, a very important thing that one should work in Krishna consciousness rather than sannyasa. So, in this now, verse number 3, Krishna says that a true karma yogi can be a true sannyasi. Jnaya sanitya sannyasi yo na dveshti na kankshati nirdvando hi mahabaho sukham bandhata muchyate. One who neither hates nor desires the fruits of his activities is known to be always renounced. Such a person, free from all dualities, easily overcomes material bondage and is completely liberated, O mighty arm Arjuna. So, what the life gives us, one should not hate or desire for the fruits of activities. Like I want this or this, whatever comes, one accepts. And one is free from all dualities, that is Sukha, Dukha, Man, Apman, and all dualities. They easily overcome material bondage and completely liberated. So this person is one who is liberated. And this point of being elevated in Sukha, Dukha, Man, Apman, we have saw in 2.14. So in second chapter also, this comes 2 or 3 times. So this theme of situating oneself on the level of Atma and tolerating the miseries of body, that is heat and cold, then mind and ahankara and all, that man of man is repeated again and again by Krishna so many times in Bhagavad Gita. And therefore, we should try to be practicing this, that any situation in our life does not disturb us in our devotional practice. So any amount of pain, any amount of praise, any amount of failure, any amount of loss or gain should not uh, deviate us from our practice of bhakti. Because this all will come in life again and again. This insults and this praise, I think it's a daily affair that somebody will insult or somebody will praise. And heat, cold, we already know. Morning it is a bit cold, afternoon it becomes too hot. So this changes at the end of the day itself. Not now the seasons are fluctuating so much that the heat in the May, which used to comes in March only. So rains are uncertain. So everything is uncertain, and therefore one should not be disturbed and understand that this is done. Purport: one who is fully in Krishna conscious is always a renouncer because he feels neither hatred nor the desire the results of his action. Such a renouncer dedicated to transcendent loving service of God is fully qualified in knowledge because he knows his conscious position in relation with Krishna. So fully with Krishna consciousness means person who knows who is Krishna, who knows Prakriti, that is materialization, what is the relation between all of them. That is, he has full Sambandha Gyan. That is person in full Krishna consciousness. So he has full Sambandha Gyan, and both based on the Sambandha Gyan, there is Abhidai, that is chanting, hearing, and all, whatever the acts of devotion. So based on that, he does that. And therefore, because the Sambandha is clear, his Abhidai is clear, and therefore, he knows that nothing is outside yours and outside the world, or nothing that it's outside the purview of Krishna. And therefore, he feels neither hatred nor desire for the results of his action. Such a renowned sir dedicated to transcend loving service of Lord is fully qualified in knowledge because he knows his conscious position in relation to the Krishna. He fully knows well that Krishna is the whole and that he is the part and parcel of Krishna. So this is Sambandha Gyan, that from Krishna we have come and therefore we are part and parcel of Krishna. Such knowledge is perfect because it is qualitatively and quantitatively correct. So knowledge that we are part and parcel of Krishna means we are one with Krishna in quality, but not quantity is the perfect knowledge. Therefore, we have same qualities like Krishna, but in very minute quantity. Whereas Krishna has this quantity in whole. So this concept we should know. Knowledge that one is in quality yet different in quantity is correct transcendent knowledge, leading one to become full in himself, having nothing to aspire or lament over. There is no duality in his mind because whatever it does for Krishna. Being thus freed from the platform of dualities is liberated, even the material world. So therefore, if we work only for Krishna or we do every work only for Krishna, we are automatically liberated. Now, in this verse number 4, Krishna says that karma yoga and sannyasa are same. Sankhya yoga pritagbala pravadanti na pandita ekamapi astita samyog ubhayor vandati phalam. Only the ignorant speaking of devotional service, karma yoga, as being different from analytical study of the material world, Sankhya. Those who are actually learned say that he who applies himself well to one of this path achieves the results of both. So actually, analytical study of material world Sankhya means to know this material world and to know who has made this material world, who is behind it. So to know the Lord. And devotional is also to know Lord and to serve Him. So therefore, there is not much difference. The aim of analytical study of the material world is to find the soul of existence. The soul of material world is Vishnu or the super soul. So why we study this material world is to find out the root cause or the root of whole existence. That is Vishnu. From Vishnu, everything comes. So devotional service to the Lord entails service to the super soul. One process is to find the root of tree and the other is to water the root. The real student of Sankhya philosophy find the root of material world Vishnu, and then in perfect knowledge engage himself in the service of Vishnu. Therefore, in essence, there is no difference between the two because the aim of both is Vishnu. Those who do not know the ultimate and say that the purpose of Sankhya and Karma Yoga are not the same. But one who is learned knows the unifying aim in these different processes. So actually, both are same. Sankhya Yoga is to find out what is the root of this material world, that is Vishnu. And then if one knows the root, then one does Karma Yoga, that is thus devotional service. So therefore, both are one the same. There is not much difference. So verse number 5, again clarifies further. Yat sankhye prapyate sthanam tad yogedapi gamyate ekam sankhyaṁ cha yogam cha ya pashyati sapashyati. One who knows that the position reached by means of analytical study can also be attained by devotional service and who therefore sees analytical study and devotional service to be on the same level, sees things as they are. So both Sankhya Yoga and Karma Yoga actually mean the same thing. Purpose. The real purpose of philosophical research is to find out the ultimate goal of life. Since the ultimate goal of life is self-realization, there is no difference between the conclusions reached by the two process. So philosophical research means to find out what is the ultimate goal of life. And we know with study that ultimate goal of life is self-realization. We should know that who he is, who Krishna is, and what is the relation between them. So that is self-realization. And therefore, there is no difference in conclusions reached by the two process. By Sankhya philosophical research, one comes to the conclusion that the living entity is not a part and parcel of the material world, but of the Supreme Spirit whole. So, this is what Sankhya philosophy teaches, that a living entity is not part and parcel of material world, but the Supreme Spirit whole. So we are not this from this material world. We live in this material for some time, and we need to go back to God also. Consequently, the spirit soul has nothing to do with the material world. His actions must be in some relation with the Supreme. So once we know that we are not his body, whatever activity we do only for Krishna. So the activities outwardly may not change, but the inward attitude changes drastically. And therefore, whatever we do for Krishna, and that consciousness only we do. So when he acts in Krishna, is actually in the conscious position. The first process, Sankhya, one has to become detached from matter, and devotional yoga process, one has to attach himself to the work of Krishna consciousness. So Sankhya involves renunciation of work, and Karma Yoga involves acting in Krishna consciousness. So renouncing the material activities and acting in Krishna consciousness means one is the same. There is not much difference. Spiritually, both processes are the same, although superficially one process appears to involve detachment and the other process appears to involve attachment. Detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. One who can see this sees things as they are. So, this is our explanation written. That detachment from matter and attachment to Krishna are one and the same. So, if we are detached from matter, then we are attracted to Krishna. And therefore, we see that people who are too much materially engrossed, it's very difficult for them to take up devotional service. So taking up devotional service requires some little kind of detachment also from different things. So now, in 6th verse, Krishna will say that just renouncing the things and not acting Krishna consciousness is very, very difficult. It's not so easy. Sanyasastu mahabaho dukhamaptum yogata yoga yukto mudir brahma nachena adhikachati. Many renouncing all activities that not engaging in the devotional service a lot cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. So person who renounces everything but does not engage in devotional service cannot make himself happy. But the person who is engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without much delay. There are two classes of sannyasis or person renounced of life. The Mayavadi sannyasis are engaged in the study of Sankhya philosophy, whereas the Vaishnava sannyasis are engaged in the study of Bhagavad philosophy. So, two type of people are who are looking for Lord. One is the Munists or the Mayavadis, who say everything is one, and they are engaged in study of Sankhya philosophy. So, whereas the Vaishnava sannyasis are engaged in the Bhagavad philosophy. So, both are sannyasis and both are involved in the respective field. The Mayavadi sannyasis also study the Vedanta sutras but use their own commentary called Sharirika Bhashya, written by Shankaracharya. So actually, the Sharirika Bhashya actually was written by Shankaracharya, but major of the things were written by his disciples and all. So there are not this is not a full commentary, but a commentary on the some of the verses, and it is referred by the sannyasis. The students of Bhagavata school are engaged in devotions to the Lord according to the Pancharatrika regulations. So these Pancharatrika regulations were given by Narad Muni, and this is the regulations by which we worship the Lord. So Pancharatrika Vidhi, that is the word. And therefore the Vaishnava sannyasis have multiple engagement transcendences of the Lord. So devotees have so many engagements from Mangalarati to Guru Puja, chanting, food distribution, then studying of literatures, Bhagavatam, Harinam, Sankirtan, and like this, taking care of deities, bhoga, making, and like this, there are so many services which are there for the devotees. So the Vaishnava sannyasis have nothing to do with material activities, and yet they perform various activities in their devotion to the Lord. So we see sannyasis also go for preaching, they go for buddhism, they go for purchasing some things or anything. So it does not mean that they are like ordinary people. No, the activities may look like same, but the results vary a lot. There is a lot of difference in the results, and therefore intention matters more than the actions. Actually, the intention for what the things are done matters much more than the action itself. So the Vaishnava sannyas has nothing to do with material activities, yet they perform various activities in devotions to the Lord. But the Mayavadi sannyasis engage in the studies of Sankhya and Vedanta and speculation cannot reach the transcendent service of the Lord. So Mayavadi sannyasis, what they do is only they study different philosophies, Sankhya, Vedanta. And second thing is they don't accept the previous one. They speculate, oh, this may be like this may be like this, and therefore cannot reach the transcendent service of the Lord. And because the studies become very tedious, they sometimes become tired of the Brahman speculation. And thus they take shelter of the Bhagavatam without proper understanding. So sometimes they become bored, there is nothing much. So what they do is they take to Bhagavatam. But they also don't have understanding, and constantly the study of some Bhagavatam becomes troublesome. Dry speculation, impersonal interpretation by artificial means are all useless for the Maya or the sannyasis. The Vaishnava sannyasis who are engaged in devotional are happy in the discharge of their transcendent duties, and they have the guarantee of ultimate entrance in the kingdom of God. The Mayavadi sannyasis sometimes fall down from the path of self-realization and again enter into material activities of philanthropic or altruistic nature, which are nothing but material engagement. So this sometimes what happens is some sannyasis they act for self-realization, but after some time they do not get the rasa or they are bored, and they open some they do some social service uh, like food distribution or opening hospitals or doing so many other things which are done. Therefore, the conclusion is that those who are engaged in Krishna conscious activities are better situated than the sannyasis engaged in simple speculation about what is Brahman and what is not Brahman, although they come to Krishna consciousness after many births. So this Monish, because they offend Lord Krishna and devotees, it takes much time for them to become Krishna conscious. And the path itself is very troublesome. It takes off a lifetime and lifetimes to practice oscillating on all to go further. So they also become Krishna consciousness, but after many births. Then from verse number 7 to 12, the characteristics of the Yoga Yukta being and what are these general symptoms. Yoga Yukto Vishuddhatma Vitatma Jitendriya Sarvabhutatma Bhutatma Karvan api na lipyate. Translation: one who works in devotion, who is a pure soul and who controls his mind and senses, is dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. So, when once in devotion and his soul is purified and who has control over mind and senses, that person is dear to everyone. So we see this in Nectar of Instruction, verse number 1, Vacho Vegam Mansa Krodham Jiva Vego Dasa Vegan Eta Vegan Yogi Ira Sarva Dharman Prithvi Sisha. So one who has control over all these things can have disciples all over the world. And therefore, even to practice devotional service perfectly, one need to try to control the mind and senses. And such people are actually dear to all people in the world. Who has control over his mind and senses are people who are liked by all the people in the world. And therefore, the six Goswamis were famous not only in the circle of devotees, but in the circle of ruffians or the people who had nothing to do with Krishna consciousness or anything, and who had like the bad elements in society. So they also uh, liked Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, all the devotees. So they also had affection for the devotees, and therefore uh, is dear to everyone and dear to everyone is dear to him. One who is in the path of liberation by Krishna consciousness is very dear to every living being, and every living being is dear to him. So the test of how much we have progressed is, can we see the super soul Paramatma in every living entity? Can we act in a way where we are equal to each and every living thing? And we do not see the distinction between friend and enemy, or loss or gain or anything. This is due to Krishna, and such a person cannot think of any living being as separate from Krishna, just as leaves and branches of a tree are not separate from tree. So such a person does not think the living is separate from Krishna. So everybody is a part of Krishna, is what he thinks. He knows very well that by pouring water on the root of the tree, the water will be distributed to all leaves and branches. Or by supplying food to the stomach, the energy is automatically distributed throughout the body. So this energy we have seen many times. That how if the food is given in the stomach, then the whole body nourishes. But if it is not given there, then the body will not nourish. Because one who works in Krishna consciousness is servant to all is very dear to everyone. And because everyone is satisfied by his work, he is in pure, in consciousness. Because he is pure in consciousness, his mind is completely controlled. So see the sequence, Krishna consciousness is servant to all, and then he comes here, and his mind is pure, his work is pure, or is pure consciousness, and when he's pure in consciousness, the mind is completely controlled. And when the mind is controlled, the senses are also controlled. Because his mind is always fixed on Krishna, there is no chance of his being deviated from Krishna. So, nor is there any chance that he will be engaged in sensitive matters other than the service of the Lord. He does not like to hear anything except topics relating to Krishna. He does not like to eat anything which is not offered to Krishna. And he does not does not wish to go anywhere if Krishna is not invited. Therefore, his senses are controlled. A man of controlled senses cannot be offensive to anyone. So one may ask, why then Arjuna was offensive in the battle to others? Wasn't he Krishna conscious? So Arjuna was only spiritually offensive because, as he already explained in the second chapter, all the assembled persons on the battlefield would continue to live individual, and the self, as a soul cannot be slain. So spiritually, no one was killed in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Only the dress were changed by the order of Krishna, who was personally present. So who were present in the battlefield and died, they achieved a much, much higher destination than they could have imagined after working or after many, many lifetimes of tapasya. So, and they got such destinations. So then Prabhupada explains how the soul cannot be slain. So only the dresses were changed on the order of Krishna, who was personally present. Therefore, Arjuna, while fighting on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, was not really fighting at all. He was simply carrying out the orders of Krishna in full Krishna consciousness. Such a person is never entangled in the reactions of work. So such person does not have any reaction to the work done. So now 8-9 verse also contains how one does the work, but he is not the doer. नैव किंचित करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववेत् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिगरन् अस्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् स्वशन् पलपं विसृजन् ग्रहणम् उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणि इन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्ते इति धारयन्. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, breathing, always knows within himself that actually does nothing at all. But because while speaking, evacuating, receiving or opening or closing the eyes, he always knows that the material and senses are engaged with the objects and that he is aloof from them. So, actually, if we see analogy that how the soul and super soul both are residing in the heart of living entity, and while the soul is engaged in eating the fruits of its activity, the super soul remains as an observer, just to see the things. Similarly, here also, a person whose consciousness is elevated, so he sees his body as different to the soul, and therefore, when he sees on that level, so he thinks that already this material senses. See, one cannot give material senses even if one is pure to the time these are there, end of the life. So what he does is, while seeing something, while hearing something, by touching something, by smelling, or eating something, sleeping or breathing, whatever he does, he knows that he is not doing. Or he knows that it are the material senses which are engaged with the objects. So the hand is doing something, the leg is doing something, but he knows I'm not this hand or leg. So this material the objects are coming in contact with the material things. So like this, he becomes an observer. So in our life also, most of the times when there are major problems we cannot solve or something, we should just be an observer. That's good. Purport: a person Krishna consciousness is pure in existence and constantly has nothing to do with any kind, with any work which depends upon the 5 immediate and remote causes: the doer, work, situation, endurance, fortune. So this will come in 18th chapter. In detail it will be explained what are the cause of work, what's action, what is inaction and all. So this will be explained there. And what are the factors for success? So this all will be explained in 18th chapter. So whenever we do something, actually we have a share of only 20%. That is our endeavor. Otherwise, Daiva is a destiny and other things like Adhishtanam, Thrakata, Karanam. So the place is given by the Lord. The material is also given by the Lord for doing anything. And other things also given by the Lord. What we do is put our endeavor and get the result. And therefore, when something is done, so we get some positive things, then our share is only 20% max. Others are other shares. So therefore, if somebody takes credit of the work done, then therefore it's called a miser, because actually he has not done the work, but he's taking the credit, and therefore one should not take credit of the work done. This is because he's engaged in the loving transcendental service of Krishna. Although he appears to be acting with the body and senses, he is always conscious of his actual position, which is spiritual engagement. In material consciousness, the senses are engaged in sense gratification, but in Krishna consciousness, the senses are engaged in the satisfaction of Krishna's senses. Therefore, the Krishna conscious person is always free, even though he appears to be engaged in affairs of the senses. Activities such as seeing and hearing are actions of the senses meant for receiving knowledge, whereas moving, evacuating, speaking, etc. are actions of senses meant for work. A Krishna person is never affected by the actions of the senses. He cannot perform any act except in the service of the lotus feet, service of the Lord, because he knows that he is the eternal servitor of the Lord. So this is always self-explanatory that a Krishna person is never affected by actions because he does not perform any action outside the service of the Lord, because he knows that I am a servant of the Lord and I should serve the Lord exclusively. So this is how things are done. So now again in 10th verse also, again how to work for the Supreme Lord with detachment is explained. ब्रह्मणि आधाय कर्माणि संगम त्यक्ता करोति य लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रम इवाम्भस. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by the sinful action as the lotus leaf is unaffected by water. So, very good example is even lotus leaf actually stays in the water, but is not affected by the water. It doesn't grow in the water. Similarly, one who performs his duty without attachment and he surrenders the result to Supreme Lord is unaffected by the sinful action. Purport. Here, Brahmani means Krishna conscious, in Krishna consciousness. The material world is sum total of manifestation of the three modes of material nature, technically called the Pradhana. So this comes in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where the whole creation is explained, how Mahatattva comes, Mahatma Pradhan comes, and all the different modes comes, intelligence comes, and all different elements which come in the universe. The Vedic hymns Sarvam Hiya Etat Brahma Mandukya Upanishad 2 Tasmad Etat Brahma Nama Rupan Na Chajayate Mundaka Upanishad 1.2.10 and in the Bhagavad Gita 14.3 Mama Yonir Mahad Brahma indicate that everything in the material world is a manifestation of Brahman, and although the effects are differently manifested, they are non-different from the cause. In the Ishopanishad, it is said that everything is related to Supreme Brahman or Krishna, and thus everything belongs to him only. One who knows perfectly well that everything belongs to Krishna and thus everything belongs to him only. One who knows perfectly well that everything belongs to Krishna, that he is the proprietor of everything and that therefore everything is engaged in the service of the Lord, naturally has nothing to do with the results of his activities, whether virtuous or sinful. So devotee is not affected by the results. So results may be good, sometimes wrong, sometimes very virtuous. He is absorbed in serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is all. So for him, dharma and adharma does not work much. For him, what works is what is liked by Krishna. What can I do for Krishna? That what it works. Even one's material body being a gift to the Lord for carrying out a particular type of action can be engaged in Krishna consciousness. It is then beyond contamination by sinful reaction, exactly as the lotus feet, though remaining on the water, is not wet. Lord also says in the Gita, 3.30, Mai Sarvani Karmani Sanyasta, resign all works unto me, Krishna. The conclusion is that a person without Krishna consciousness acts according to the concept of material body and senses. But a person Krishna conscious acts according to the knowledge that the body is a property of Krishna and should therefore be engaged in the service of Krishna. Uh, so the conclusion is that a person without Krishna consciousness acts according to the concept of material body and senses. So the difference of how knowing Krishna and claiming Krishna is a lot of difference. So one can work on spiritual platform rather than material platform if one has this knowledge. So verse number 11. So why this all work is done? Because it will lead to purification. कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति संगम त्यक्त्वा आत्मा शुद्धये. The yogis abandoning attachment act with body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses only for the purpose of purification. So the goal of yogis is to purify oneself. When one acts in Krishna consciousness for satisfaction of the senses of Krishna, any action, whether of the body, mind, and intelligence, or even the senses, purified of material contamination. There are no material reactions resulting from the activities of a Krishna conscious person. Therefore, purified activities, which are generally called sadachar, can be easily performed by acting in Krishna consciousness. Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti says, describes as follows: Ihasya Haridasya Karmanamana Sagira Nihilasho Api Avasthashu Jivan Mukta Se Uchyate. A person acting Krishna consciousness, or in the other words, in the service of Krishna, with his body, mind, intelligence, should and word, is a liberated person, even within the material world. Although he may be engaged in many so-called material activities. So when one acts in Krishna consciousness, that is conscious of Krishna, then one is liberated in this material world also. He has no false ego, for he does not believe that he is in the material body. So because of having this material body, we have this false ego that I am this, I am that. So this false ego has to be converted into real ego. And that is, I am the servant of Krishna. He knows that he is not this body and that this body does not belong to him. He himself belongs to Krishna, the body too belongs to Krishna. When he applies everything produced to the body, mind, words, life, wealth, etc., whatever he may have within his position to Krishna's service, he is at once dovetailed with Krishna. He is one with Krishna and is devoid of a false ego that leads to one to believe that he is the body, etc. This is the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. Now, verse number 12. So now this verse is a summary of this section, and from next session we start. Yukta karma phalam tyakta shanti mapnoti naishtikam ayukta kama karena phalasakto nibhadyate. The steadily doubtful Atma attains unedited peace because he offers the result of all activities to me. Whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, became entangled. So, a person who offers everything to Krishna actually becomes liberated. Whereas the others who do not, they get entangled themselves. Purport: the difference between the person in Krishna consciousness and person in bodily consciousness is that the former is attached to Krishna, whereas the latter is attached to the results of his activities. So rather to be attached to results, we should do our duty, but not expect results. At the same time, we should be dependent on Krishna, we should attach to Krishna. The person who is attached to Krishna and works for him only is certainly a liberated person. And he has no anxiety over the results of his work. In the Bhagavad, the cause of anxiety or the result of an anxiety is explained as once functioning in the conception of duality, that is, without knowledge of the absolute truth. Krishna is the same supreme absolute truth, the personality of God. In Krishna consciousness, there is no duality. All that exists is the product of Krishnality. And Krishna is all good. Therefore, activities in Krishna consciousness are on the absolute plane. They are transcendental and having no material effect. One is therefore filled with peace in Krishna consciousness. But one who is entangled in profit calculation for sense satisfaction cannot have the peace. This is the secret of Krishna consciousness, realization that there is no existence behind Krishna. Besides Krishna is the platform of peace and fearlessness. So important that everything is a product of Krishna's energy and Krishna all good. Therefore, we should do everything for Krishna. And we do everything for Krishna, then there is transit and has no material effect. And therefore, one can get out of this material world. Others actually do not have any kind of peace and ending. So from verse number 13, another section starts about knowledge of the three doers. That is soul, super soul, and the material world. So this we'll see next time. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.